Do I look at you on the
yeah,
camera?
that's fine. Yes, sorry, I have to
look into the camera.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm looking at the camera. Can I ask you, why is the bulk of Labour MPs don't they realise what's happening to the NHS? Do they realise that American systems are being installed?
I think there's a good awareness of that, and the problem has been, both under Hunt and under Hancock, is that they will say black is white. That when these questions are put to them, they say no, there is no risk here, but then you ask questions, and we do ask questions, and we interrogate, and we read reports, and it turns out that there are risks here. So I think the problem is not that we're not concerned about it. I think that most Labour MPs are very concerned about it. It's that we are getting so much disinformation out of government.
What about disinformation from within the Labour Party? I mean, do people really realise that integrated care systems are being run in the same way as on American lines to reduce demand and reduce costs?
Well, I mean, I think we've got a good team. I think John Ashworth is a very good Shadow Health Secretary. I think he understands what the issues are, and we are going to need a fundamental reform. If you look at what's happened since the Lansley reforms, effectively they've all been shown not to work, and what we've got now is a cobbled together system whereby we've stitched and mended to try and just keep the thing on the road. I find that when I talk to the local health service here, nobody will defend the structures and systems that now operate in the NHS. None of the clinicians, none of the managers even. The problem is there is not that political control at the top, and that's what we have to change.
But the integrated care systems they're bringing in very quickly. I mean, there's a lot of support for that with it, isn't there? I mean, among clinicians, because somebody in my film puts it very well. He says, having torn the whole thing apart, they're sewing it all back together again, supposedly putting it back together as it once was, as an integrated healthcare system, but with the private sector sewn up inside it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the Tories mean in their 10-year plan. Do they mean that actually there will be a move away from the enforced competition, which is not just ruining the health service, it's putting a lot of additional financial regulatory burdens on it? Or do they simply mean that, as you've just said, that they are ingraining that type of competition within the body of the health service?
That seems to be very clear inside the integrated care structures that they're operating. It's supposedly voluntary, but in fact they're leaving the door wide open for the private sector to be running the integrated care system.
You may well be right to be suspicious that is what they want, because I've asked the question and I've been told no, this is to give more freedom and flexibility to individual health service units so that they don't have to go out to competition all the time. They can award contracts in-house if that's a sensible thing to do, which is very much like the battle we had over compulsory competitive tendering in local government 20 years ago. But I don't trust them to do that. What I'm saying is that if we take over these structures, we have a real problem. Nobody wants to go through another complete reorganisation of the health service. But at the same time, we have to get rid of the worst aspects of it, which is the privatisation, but also the over-bureaucratisation of it in that way. So we are going to have to make changes.
But that will mean renationalising, right?
I'm sorry?
That will mean fully renationalising, surely.
Well, yes, you want to have some democratic control. B, you want to ensure that that the staff as well as the users of the health service are dealt with on an equitable basis. None of that is happening at the moment. There's always going to be private sector involvement in the NHS. It always has been in that way. But only supply of provisions, not in services. Exactly. Yes.
Not provision of services.
I think that's right. Yes, I think that's right.
So I'm talking about why can't we renationalise the service comprehensively so that it is fully publicly owned again, as it was before?
Well, you're pushing an open door with me on that issue. That's certainly the situation we should be in. But, first of all, we have to change the government. Secondly, we have to deal with the immediate crisis that there is and the consequences of the lousy changes. But yes, the long-term ambition has to be to ensure that the health service goes back to its founding principles.
But the vast majority of Labour MPs, for instance, don't support the NHS reinstatement bill, which is basically lays out the principles for full.
So support the what?
NHS reinstatement bill.
Well, and there's been there's been a number of bills that have been forward in that way. I wouldn't read too much into that, to be perfectly honest. These are usually put forward either as 10-minute rule bills or as private members' bills in that way, and they're often seen as a platform for particular interests. I don't read into the level of support for a particular statement or bill of that kind, what the intention is overall.
Well, the bill is sorry.